Clongowes to my parents lived abroad, Deb, so I spent my whole life
Okay. We're in the same boat,
defending myself for an accident of nature, so don't feel free to say what you want.
So I grew up in a posh suburb of Dublin. I grew up in Sea Point.
Whoa.
Yeah. And, you know it's posh because that's where Cillian Murphy is. I mean, it's much posher than
He's brought the level up, though.
Well, exactly. He's brought the level up for everyone in all kinds of ways.
Even though he walks his dog in the seafront like everybody else, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but, people turn around and say, I'm sure he's brought the property prices up.
Yeah, but he used to go on the dart with his dog, you know what I mean? And probably doesn't do that now.
Yeah, possibly. I'd say that's probably off limits to him now. But, I grew up in this house in Sea Point, and it's just funny because my gran bought this house when nobody wanted to live in that area. So I grew up living in my gran's house with my parents, and like we were in terms of like maybe culturally, I guess we were middle class, but like my talk about what my parents did for a living. Like my mum had a weaving business. She was a weaver, so our house was full of looms. My dad was a professional gambler. And so it's not like I had this, it's not like I was living this sort of affluent life, but I still got saddled with the accent. Yeah. And it was so liberating coming to the UK where people just hear Irish. There's no sort of specific dialect or specific connotations or stigma, about the kind of accent you have. All they hear is Irish. And that was very liberating for me when I first moved over.
You can't be categorised. I suppose they say the same when they come to Ireland. We can't tell, and most people couldn't tell north or south. In England, you get categorised by your accent as well.
Yeah.
So
and obviously class is very big here.
Yeah, it's huge. And when you come back now, has the place changed a lot in your mind?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, it's wild to me how much more multicultural Dublin is, because I think when I was leaving in, 2003, 2004, you were maybe getting the first wave of like immigrants from, say, Eastern Europe and West Africa. Yeah. And now obviously those people have settled and had children and they're Irish. Growing up and they're Irish and they have, thick Dublin accents. Absolutely. And it's amazing. Like, absolutely. There was nothing, it just wasn't. It was so homogenous. So I felt very different just from the fact that my mum was Jewish, Yeah. So to come back to Dublin now and see how much it's changed in that way is really amazing. And then also there was a period where it seemed like after I left, a lot of the independent cafes and shops and stuff were closing down because of the economy. Yeah. And now it seems like that's not the case. There's like a lot more sort of independent shops and record shops and bars and cafes and stuff, which is really nice to see. It feels like a really buzzy city again.
Oh, yeah, well, it's hopping now. People think it's hopping too much at the time, but I do, my measure is always when I get into a taxi and the guy is obviously not reared from Westmeath and I ask him, how long are you here? And the joke is, I was like, you're here these 20 years. Oh, yeah, I'm here 22, 23, 24. I left Nigeria, I left Poland. So now they're totally integrated. They have their children, they live here. Yeah. And it is very different that way. They're not just blow-ins, as we would have said in the old days,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's
bizarre.
It's very different.
You see.
Yeah.
And you think resilience is a very particularly Irish thing? Or is every culture resilient? Or do we just over-idealise it, poeticize it, or?
I suppose Irish people are resilient in that, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how I define it. I feel like we're good at getting on with things, but we also like to complain a lot. I feel like, complaining is kind of a
thing.
It's a bit of a currency, I feel like. In Ireland. It's funny, I was talking to Marianne Keyes when I was covering the breakfast show on 6 a little while ago, and we were talking about, this sort of currency of complaining or gossip or, this thing that you have in Ireland. And I feel like more so than resilience, I feel like maybe it is to do with resilience, because I feel like there is that thing where if you see other people doing well, there's the assumption of notions that you put on them. I feel like there's like a skepticism of anyone who's doing well. It's almost like the resilience ties into this idea that like, if you're not, suffering without putting your head above the parapet, then maybe you're not, living life the way you're supposed to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and this kind of is a begrudging with a big B or little b. We have that kind of element in us.
Yeah, begrudging. That's the word I was looking for.
And here it's, I say respectfully, it's live and well. But when you go away, some of that gets left behind because you have no time for it. Because you're mixing with, I lived in the States for 10 years and you have to live with a stereotype, but you have to get on with it,
Yeah. That's a good point. I guess living in the States is the total opposite in that, like, any achievement that you make or anything, it's a totally different culture that you're very encouraged to be proud of everything.
Yeah, everything's positive, everything's good. Well, it's changed now, but everything's go for it, give it a chance, and if you fail, that's not a big problem.
Yeah.
And moments in your own life where you've had to be resilient, Deb. Does some come to mind?
Yeah, so like I said, I was in London for 20 years and I was kind of ready to move on in a way. And I got this job on Six Music and they asked me to move to Manchester because the show was going to be broadcast from Salford. And I kind of had anticipated that happening. And I knew it was going to be difficult. It's not like I was moving to the moon or anything. It's a few miles up the road to Manchester, but it was much, much, much harder than I anticipated. It was like this combination of leaving this entire sort of groups of friends that I'd built up over 20 years, professional networks that I'd built up. I was living, and also there's that feeling where if you've made a reasonable success of things in London, that feels like a real achievement because London is hard, as everyone knows. And so I moved to Manchester and I was very happy to be here on in terms of the fact that it's a much easier place to live. It's smaller and more manageable. People are friendlier, which actually counts for a lot. And you don't constantly feel like you're swimming upstream. It's just easier to be here. I think the combination of moving to a whole new city where I didn't really know anyone, trying to get my bearings of the sort of subtleties of the culture and all of that, trying to network or build relationships with people, and then also launching this new show on this station that I'd always wanted to be a part of, but it was all mired in controversy because they had to move the schedule around, and I had this co-host that I hadn't really worked with before, and it felt like,
was that Ravers?
That's Ravers, yeah, exactly. Who obviously I've come to know and love very well, but it just felt like there was a lot of pressure in my professional life and then this sort of blank space in my personal life. And I just don't think I anticipated how hard it was going to be. And I don't even know if I can legitimately say I was resilient. I just kind of got through it because I had to, but it was hard.
Well, what's your draw on then, Debbie? Well, what made you get up every day and keep going?
I don't even know. I think I just, in a way, I'd always wanted to work for Six Music. That was all. Yeah, as soon, because it just, to me, that was just naturally it was the station that I listened to. And also in terms of my musical taste and my musical knowledge and my style of broadcasting, I just felt like it was the place where I wanted to be. It felt like a total fantasy for a long time. So when I got the job, it was kind of amazing. But so in a way, that was something that sort of kept me going, like, well, I have this thing now and I have to work hard to protect it. In another way, that was kind of, it made it even harder because it was like, well, if I mess this up, that's my ultimate dream down the toilet. So I don't know. I think it was just, it would have been more complicated to give up.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like that doesn't really qualify as resilience.
But at the end of the day, it's the wanting to succeed or not fail keeps you going as well, which is not particularly Irish, but it's just human nature, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like showing up on stage and your frock falls off, your costume falls off. It's a fear you have and you do your utmost not to see it happen.
Yeah, exactly. What you mean, like to not publicly humiliate yourself?
Yeah, we all live with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fun thing is, if anybody listened to you, Deb, they'd have no idea that was scrambling around your head.
Really? Well, that's good. It feels much more comfortable now, and I feel very relaxed on the radio now. But for a while there, it was difficult. And in the midst of all of this, I'd never covered the breakfast show before. And, you know,